MovieWeb.com.
So originally, how did was the feature being developed like kind of while the series was still going, or was this something that kind of came into play afterwards, after the second season?
The feature was developed after we found out there wouldn't be a third season. So I think that, I'm almost positive actually that Patrick had already been working on storylines for the third season. When he found out that there wouldn't be a third season, there would be a feature film instead. And he had to either, I would say actually he had to come up with a plot that was completely separate from all the stories he had developed for a third season, because regroup, start over. Because this is probably the last time you're gonna see these characters. So he came up with a story that was sort of a nice final chapter for Noah's Ark.
So like what exactly is jumping the broom entail? Is that kind of a jumping the shark kind of a...
Jumping the broom is actually a custom that I understand originated in Europe, but was picked up by slaves who were not allowed to marry. When Africans were brought to the States and treated as second, third class citizens, they weren't allowed to legally marry, much in the same way that some people in California and the rest of the country think the gays should not be allowed to marry. It's actually ironic that these things are repeating themselves. But the custom that the African slaves adopted was called jumping the broom, where they wouldn't do the traditional standing under a chapel. They would jump over a broom, and that would mean together, holding hands, jumping over the broom. They were locked in their committed relationship.
So Daryl, you said that it was a challenge to balance the kind of the gap between the 2 years. There's a 2-year gap, I believe, between the series and the film. Like what kind of things from Noah can we expect that would be the same from the series, and what kind of things we expect to be different?
Noah, I feel like in the series was definitely the baby, and he was definitely looking to his friends a lot for advice. I think by the time we meet Noah in this film, he still counts on his friends for love and support, but I think he's really figured out how he's going to handle his life and what he's going to do for himself. And he's figured out how to go about getting what he needs on his own. Still loves his friends, but even when they're not necessarily supportive of the choice he's making and getting married, he's moving on and he's ready to take the steps that he wants to take to make himself happy.
So Rodney, like you said at first that you were kind of apprehensive of taking on the series, like at first, and then that Paul
Patrick,
yeah, sorry. And Patrick was going to be working with your character throughout the series. Like, how has he kind of worked with you with that character and leading up into the film, and how has your character kind of evolved?
Well, first of all, the reason that I think in the beginning that I wasn't sure, because I run a talent agency, so I didn't know if I could do both.
Oh,
that was the main thing, just to clear that. But, he told me that he would help me with it because I had never done a lead in a TV show before. And he pretty much just, he let me kind of do my thing with the character and help develop the character. But he had a lot of insight with it and just trying to help me with it as much as possible. And
so when it came around time to the film, were you pretty set to go and had a good handle on it?
I think after the first episode,
even after the pilot episode, which was shot in 2004 or 5, he was good. He was good to go. We were all
pretty much. I think we all kind of found the characters, and even people still to this day is like, how did you guys make that work? With you guys being, supposedly best friends, and I think we just sort of all gelled.
The actors all have a genuine chemistry and a genuine fondness for each other, so I think it works.
So I think that made it work.
So it seemed like the film was kind of a pretty fast and furious shoot. You said you only filmed for 15 days. 15 days.
15 days.
I feel like I was in every scene.
I think I had 1 day off. Did you have any days off?
I had no days off.
Oh, okay.
And started off sick because we shot in Nova Scotia and it was freezing. And as soon as I got there, I got this cold and I could barely talk. But there we are, standing on the pier, wind blowing in our faces, acting.
Freezing.
So is there any benefits to kind of a quick shoot like that, or is it just kind of up the ante a little bit, or?
For me, it worked in my favor actually because I was away from my business, so it worked. I was glad, but then I think still it kind of pushes you as well. You kind of throw yourself out there and you just kind of go, does that work?
Yeah.
because that's all the time we have. I hope it works.
Yeah,
Let's move on. You don't have a lot of time to really overthink your choices or belabor scenes. It's kind of like, let's get it done.
Because I think when you do TV, you have more time to, to work.
It was quick.
Well, it's always been kind of quick.
It's always been fast. Yeah, we're used to working pretty fast.
I mean, yeah, but still, I think. We did a episode a week, so.
True.
I guess.
Which was much slower. I mean, that was much slower than we had on this.
So, you both worked with Patrick for some time, and you were in his debut film. Like, what kind of things does Patrick bring to the table, and what makes you guys want to keep coming back and working with him?
Patrick has got a genuine understanding and appreciation for this culture, for Black gay culture, and he's got a voice that I feel is so specific. That it's really interesting. It's really interesting to hear his take on these types of relationships and stories. He's very. What was interesting to me about this series is that he took the type of character that I think most gay shows would not necessarily put in the forefront. He took the sissy, the so-called sissy, and sort of put friends around him. Where normally on a show, even if it's a gay show, you'd have these sort of, don't want to say straight acting, but the sort of standard, generic guy, the sissy friend, the funny friend, the slutty friend, where he put the sissy in the middle and then sort of arranged the friends around him. Because I think at that point, and I think it's still happening, in gay culture there's this idea that if you're not mocking this sort of macho, straight man archetype, you're not worth our attention. So I think by making Noah this sort of soft, emotional, fragile character, the middle of the four friends, and fleshing him out and letting him have emotions and relationships and sex and stuff that people don't want to see normally come from the sissy character, I think he was kind of a trailblazer in the sense that he's humanized this character that people have really, up until this point, not wanted to see humanized, not wanted to see have a full life. He's not the snappy hairdresser. He's the guy who's holding the story together. So.
I mean, not to mention, I think just out of respect to him, I mean, he's an amazing writer and director. I mean, just for working with punks and his ideas and story, I mean, you can't take that away from him. He's, and I don't think that it had ever been shown of two men having sex on like that on TV, right?
The way we did it, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, but I'm saying but it was beautifully done. What I mean, it was done very well. So
where Queer as Folk had happened before, that was on Showtime. This was an ad-sponsored television show, and I think that was definitely one of the first to show such intimate.
But it was done, and I think and one thing that I did like and always respect, it was done well, and it wasn't done to make you go, like in a nasty way. It was just, I remember when I first saw it, and I was like, wow. I mean, because it was done really well. That anybody can appreciate it. It didn't matter if you.
It didn't take away from the story. It wasn't like, oh, there's some gay sex for you. It just kind of gets you in the seats. It was like it felt like it was part of the story, and it tied into the characters. So.
Right.
So like the series has been compared to to Sex and the City, like that kind of genre. But like the film, it almost kind of feels like a Tyler Perry sort of has kind of this Tyler Perry sort of feel to it. Do you think he could be Patrick might be the next Tyler Perry?
I would hope so. In that Tyler Perry makes lots of movies and lots of money. Hopefully Patrick continues to do that. I've honestly not seen many Tyler Perry movies. I don't know. I do know our film because he had a film, Why Did We Get Married? Yeah. And it was sort of the same kind of thing where they all went to this cabin and. That's the one Janet's in, right?
So yeah, right.
I meant to see that one.
So I mean, so in that way, I think so. But I mean, I think that, if he continues to do what he's doing, I don't see why.
I know Tyler has a big straight female following.
Because he started doing those plays.
With his plays.
Right.
And he's always got this sort of man candy in his movies. It's almost like they're gay movies also, but apparently they're not.
Wow.
But I think Patrick also has that sort of sensibility where even if the story is about a bunch of gay guys, Patrick has a sense to put enough attractive actors in the cast to sort of reel women in, and then they get involved with the characters and the stories. But the first thing is, black women who are just switching channels will be like, wait a minute, and go back to seeing his love interest, Greg Keith, shirtless, with a fireman hat on, helmet on, and then they're wrapped into the story. So
finally, like for those like who might not be familiar with the series and like what would you kind of say to a new audience that you're might try to reach out to with this film?
Well, this is an interesting time politically. There are some people who are trying to write discrimination into the Constitution in California and in other states where same-sex marriage has been made legal. This particular film happened to take place in Martha's Vineyard because when we shot it and when the script was put together, same-sex marriage was not legal in California. This story is not about the struggle to be able to get married. This, legally, it's about how difficult it is for anybody, straight or gay, to put aside all the drama and commit themselves in a relationship. And that's really the point of what marriage is. It's about committing yourself to someone you love. It's not really about the gender of the person. It's not about what state you're in. It's not about the legislation or which church you go to. It's about committing yourself to the person you love. And that's really, hopefully, what people walk away from this film is.